Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And we are here, back outside, because the weather is nice, at the gorgeous Maxwell Place Pier. And folks, the person to my right needs absolutely no introduction because he is a legend in this town. He's a legend in this state. He is a legend in this country. And he is a legend all over the world. And we're going to get into that. It is my good friend, actor, world traveler, and everything else in between, Alex Corrado. Pleasure seeing you again. What an intro.
What an intro. That's a hard one to top.
I know. I needed to catch my breath. Sorry.
Thank you for the accolades.
Absolutely. We love having you on, but you are fresh off of your appearance at PaisanCon. So I was wondering, and we gave you a shout out on one of the shows.
Thank you for the shout out. And I got to tell you.
Talk to me.
So no one knew what to expect with the event. It was the first time. It was the brainchild of Nick Petito, a friend of mine.
Gotcha.
And it was an inspiration for Italian Americans, I must say.
It was. We were nervous about that, right?
Oh, absolutely. They got about 2,000 people. Tommy DeVito got the Paisan of the Year award.
Oh.
When he came in, you thought the Pope came in.
Oh, jeez.
It was like crazy.
And he plays for the Giants. Who cares about them? But anyway.
Well, I'm a Jet fan.
Yeah, and you know why, like.
Also, then I won Best Actor at the Paisan Con.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. You don't even tell me.
Congratulations. I didn't even know. You didn't tell me.
We'll get into that, though, also. But, yeah, no, it was great.
Overall
great
success.
Experience. And we got a person showed up, total A-lister, unannounced, bought a ticket, came in, caused a buzz. Paul Giamatti.
No way.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So there was great food, great fun, and it was a lot of positivity for the Italian-American community in New Jersey and everywhere else, but it was great.
That is great. And congratulations to the organizers. And maybe the Pulse will be there next year. We'll see.
Right. Nick Petito and Billy Pompeo did a great job.
Excellent. All right. Well, Alex, you've been a world traveler, though. You know, I mean, you've been in Paris for explain to us how long you've been.
Yes, my wife was working on a film. She works in production. We were there from May to August.
Wow.
Then with the actors' strike, they shut down the production. And we didn't know if we were going back, quite frankly. Long story short, we went back January 2nd, and we just got back like 2 weeks ago.
That is awesome. And while his wife was working, Alex was trying all the fine restaurants that Paris offers, right or wrong.
I was being the bon vivant, Peter, that I am, be it Hoboken, Iowa City, or Paris, my friend.
I know. We'll get into Iowa City. But first, the restaurants that you went to. Now, we're Italian. We usually don't like the French.
You know what? What I did learn being in Paris for 6 months, and I told this to Parisian friends of mine, most of the great things there are derived from Italian nature or origin. And
well, that's why the food was so good, right?
Exactly. Now, we could start with one of my favorite restaurants in Paris.
Talk to me.
It's called Le Procop.
Okay.
So when you hear Le Procop, you say, oh, it's a nice French place, whatever. I did a little history on the place before I went there the first time.
Okay.
And I find out that the man who started this place, his name was Francesco Procopio.
So you're Italian?
Yes.
Okay.
He was born in Palermo, Sicily, sons of a fisherman.
Interesting.
And he supposedly he's credited with bringing espresso, coffee, and gelato to Paris in 1686.
Oh, no way.
Yes. Isn't this crazy?
So how was the gelato there?
No. Well, the gelato was great. There's like a chocolate store every other door in Paris.
Oh, my goodness.
Things that you see a lot of. Chocolate stores, pharmacies, and eyeglass shops.
Well, that's interesting.
It's actually very interesting.
Oh, okay.
But then, like the French Cafe Society, if you will, La Belle Epoque. But anyway, so let's get back to this Le Procop.
Yeah.
So this place, he started selling originally espresso off a cart and then gelato. And I always said, how is it refrigeration in 1686? I wondered about that. What would you think about that? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I can't
in the
answer
winter,
that.
I'm sure it was great because they just put it out there.
Right.
Exactly.
They kept it over the Seine. I don't know, But so anyway, so then the story goes through history. All these famous people went to this place and built up its reputation. And for example, I know it was the favorite restaurant in Paris of Thomas Jefferson. who lived there for years, Benjamin Franklin. Wow. They have a huge Benjamin Franklin room and a bust of him in the restaurant. Wow. Then they have Voltaire's table, who was a great French writer, instigator, if you will. And he had a table which he sat at that they have there. I think he also wrote at that table in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. They have a letter from Marie Antoinette there. You know, it's just very, very...
But talk to me about the cuisine.
Yes, let's get into the cuisine. So, like, leprechaun, of course, like, you know, people heard of coq au vin or, you know, of escargot. But I tell you, everything was so great. It's in the preparation. It's like even in the kitchens, the chefs, the Michelin Guide started in France. You know, it's obviously it's sponsored by the tire company.
Of course.
But Le Procope is a Michelin recommended restaurant. Wow. And it's in the Saint-Germain. It's on the left bank of Paris. It's not far from Le Dumagot and Café de Flore.
Okay.
Two other very famous old cafes in Paris. But anyway, about the food. So
what did you have? Yeah.
I know. I had everything. Basically, I was there for 6 months. I tried a couple of places. But Le Procope was one of my favorite. They had like, you know, you could get the menu with a first. It's funny that an entree is actually an appetizer there. Wow. You know, in French. So entree means appetizer.
Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. So be careful because you might not get as much food as you want.
Obviously, then they have the menus in English. I mean, I got to tell you then, my first time I was in France was in 1988. And back then, the French didn't like us that much, or there was whatever. There was always that reputation. Sure. But I tell you, these past 6 months in Paris were a delight. Everyone was nice. My French was very limited, but I got along fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to the food. So I usually start, pumpkin soup was big there. For whatever reason, yeah.
That's only for the fall here, right?
Right, and they had like a potato leek soup. Interesting. Also very interesting, you know. And then, of course, let's get into the escargot.
Totally.
So now a lot of people are skeeved out by eating little snails, but quite frankly, if they kill them with a pound of butter, anything.
Very, very true. And was there butter heavy on this?
Absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. And so obviously you start with a little escargot, maybe a little steak tartare. You know, a lot of people are not into eating raw meat. My wife's a pescatarian.
Yeah.
She doesn't eat meat at all.
Gotcha.
You know? Then they had some nice lamb dishes, you know, which I personally like lamb, but I like it well done.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, you know, they're not crazy about cooking the temperature of the meat. They like it more on the rare, medium rare side.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
And then, you know, of course, they have a great steak. Coq au vin, you know.
Tell me about the desserts.
Well, the desserts are great. Actually, then, again, getting into the old Italian situation.
All right.
I went to this Stora bakery.
Okay.
Which they say they invented the baba.
Oh, really?
So now, of course, I had to go there like Larry David, an Italian Larry David, and complain because I said, listen, you're saying that you invented the baba wrong. I go, I'm sorry, that was invented in Naples, Italy, you know? But anyway, so the story goes that Marie Antoinette had a baker come from Germany, like this woman's work, and they came, and that Stora bakery has remained in Paris now, very, very famous, lines out the door, especially now with social media, Instagram, what have you. They have a great eclair there.
Oh,
you know,
of course. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately.
All right.
So perfect. We are going to come, but Alex is going to be back next week. This is the part 1 of a 2-part segment, and to discuss more about his travels through Paris for 6 months. God bless you. You know,
thank you.
Exactly. Alex Corrado, thank you so much for coming on.
You got it. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Absolutely. All right, folks. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano still here at the beautiful Maxwell Place Pier. And folks, the gentleman to my right needs absolutely no introduction because he's been doing segments with that bum, Josh Sotomayor right side, but he's got the real deal today.
Thank God.
Thank God is right, Ron. And that is the executive director of the Miles Square Taxpayers Association, our good friend, Mr. Ron Simoncini. Great to see you.
You too, Peter. Nice to be here.
Exactly. Ron, the last time you were on, you discussed how you were petitioning the city of Hoboken in order for a rent control referendum. I was wondering if you could update these the viewers out there of what the status is now.
Yeah, so that was about a month ago. We had a requirement of collecting 1,341 signatures. We've collected far in excess of that. It's been a very popular notion. It's gone in great with the voters. So we have well in excess of 2,000 signatures, and we think that once submitted, we'll be qualified to go on the ballot.
Okay, great. And as of today, Ron, because we're filming this on a Tuesday, do you feel as if the petitions are going to be submitted anytime soon?
No, I think, we're ready to submit them now in terms of the legality of the petitions. In terms of the timing, we have some issues because we want to make sure to give the council the full extent of their ability to consider these petitions. So that means we'd have to time it so that they could get 2 council meetings to deliberate over the petitions. And probably we'll have submitted them by the time this segment runs, but if not, it'll be soon thereafter.
It'll be soon thereafter. And then the council will review it, and they can either vote on it or not, correct?
So they can vote to adopt it. They can negotiate with the committee of petitioners for something that the committee would accept in lieu of the petition. Or they can either reject it or just let their timing run out, and then it would be an effective no, and then we'd go to the ballot.
Understood. Now, Ron, your group of folks collecting signatures has been receiving some feedback from citizens of Hoboken and from members of the Hoboken Fair Housing Alliance, discussing that they're going up to registered voters and citizens of Hoboken and saying that, oh, do you want affordable housing in Hoboken? And they feel as if that's a misconception because they feel that this is going to take away basically affordable housing, your referendum.
I've got a one-word answer to that.
Yep.
Pshaw. Because it's total Canardville to say that. The fact of the matter is the first words in the petition are, shall an owner be obligated to contribute $2,500 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in order to vacancy decontrol an apartment? That's in brief language what the petition says. So the petition does actually create affordable housing in Hoboken. And so when you approach someone, you give them the essence of the thing that you're trying to do. It also does provide equity for the apartment owner in Hoboken who's either a condo owner or a multifamily owner who's under an untenable rent control requirement. This allows them to liberate the value of their real estate while creating affordable housing.
Okay. And let's talk about that $2,500 because there's some landlords out there and then, smaller unit who are like, why do I have to pay $2,500, to the city when I could just keep the tenants I have and so on and so forth?
Well, of course they can keep the tenants that they have. This referendum does not affect any tenant in Hoboken. Hoboken tenants are protected under the rent control law. They will not suffer one moment of inconvenience as a result of this. This is only if an apartment is vacated. So, number one.
So no tenant can be kicked out?
No tenants can or will be kicked out. New Jersey has the strongest anti-eviction laws in the country. If Hoboken wants to pass, and I said this on this show before, pass the most insidious tenant protection anti-harassment law ever, no one's concerned about it. Nobody does that. Gotcha. What happens now is, once that unit is vacated, the landlord gets to set the price. A tenant comes in, agrees with that price, moves in, and pays a rent that that tenant can afford. And here's another one of the canards, and there's 3. You mentioned the one which is, oh, we don't like the way people are getting petition signatures. Far and away, what feedback we're hearing is people are glad about the referendum, and the committee of petitioners has engaged people to circulate these petitions who are trained. The petition has on it the entire question. If you don't feel comfortable signing it, don't sign it. 2,100 other people have already signed it. So the issue here is that none of the apartments that are being occupied in Hoboken right now that are vacated are for people who need a subsidy for their housing. We reviewed 50 applications that a reputable realtor gave us of the last 50 applications they had approved for vacant apartments in Hoboken. They didn't just average $100,000, Peter. All but 2 were over $100,000.
Nick.
Or they had a co-signing parent who had that income. These apartments are not going to people who need a subsidized apartment. Why are we depriving ourselves of the tax revenue? Why are we depriving ourselves of the increased real estate value? Why are we depriving ourselves of collecting money from people who can afford to pay it? Correct. We shouldn't do that. Let's take that money and take $2,500 of it and contribute it into a fund so the people who are deprived of affordable housing in Hoboken have a chance to get it.
And how long has it Hoboken built an affordable housing unit?
I'm 62.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow, you look great, Ron.
Thank you. So do you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
It's been a number of years. And Hoboken has caused affordable housing units to be constructed in market buildings that have a set aside for affordable housing. They have done some of that. But there hasn't been any affordable housing built in Hoboken that's city or government subsidized in decades.
Yeah. And now
this will be the first. And Peter, it's our intention of raising enough money so that the city has the capital to go and get matching funds, to go and get grants, and to go and get financing for somewhere between 400 and 700 units of affordable housing. In 6 years, we will be able to create enough revenue that if the city takes advantage of state and federal programs, they will be able to build 400 to 700 units. And to criticize us because what? We're not paying enough? 2,500 is not enough. It should be 20,000. 2,500 is too much. It should be 0. We picked a number that makes sense, that allows us to build affordable housing and that allows the landlords to be able to rationalize paying the fee. We want people to pay the fee.
Sure, absolutely. And just to be clear, because we have a little less than 2 minutes here, Ron, anybody who's in an apartment now, your referendum will not displace them, correct?
That's correct.
And you spoke about some other...
And there was a big social media post, this is going to displace all the people who... It's completely untrue. The person never even read the referendum. They went by the hype. And if you go by the hype of the activist tenants who really are special interest people, they'll do anything to avoid a landlord getting an advantage in when they have a vacated unit. That doesn't make sense. Why are we depriving ourselves of benefits? You want to hurt the landlord? That's not what affordable housing is. Affordable housing is encouraging affordable housing to be built. And so what we're doing doesn't affect any existing tenant.
Yeah. And Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city of Hoboken proposed a budget, and the budget sees a tax increase.
Yes.
Which is going to obviously affect landlords,
yes.
Correct? But that's always passed on to the tenant, right or wrong?
Yes. The tenants actually, there's a pass-through law in Hoboken. If you suffer any water or utility increase or tax increase, the entire amount in proportion is passed on to the tenant. By the way, that will exceed the allowable rent increase in Hoboken this year. Their property tax pass-through from their landlord, passed by the city, will exceed the allowable increase that the landlord will levy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's hypocritical. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You want to say that my budget went up 11%, but you as a property owner can only increase 3%?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Exactly. Well, Ron Simoncini, we are out of time, unfortunately. The executive director of the Mile Square Taxpayers Association.
This will be on the ballot.
Yeah.
If you didn't like the way you signed it, you felt like you were misrepresented, you weren't. If you believe that hype, go vote no.
There you go. Absolutely. And really quickly, when do you think the election will be if the city council does nothing with the petition?
Maybe sometime in July. I mean, we have had some signals from the city council that says maybe there'll be some discussion of an ordinance that they would like to see passed in favor of ours. We're open to the discussion, but if not, sometime in July.
All right. Ron Simoncini, Executive Director of the Mile Square Taxpayers Association.
I'm coming back here, by the way.
I was going to say, whenever you want, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ron. All right, folks. We will be right back.
Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano still in the host chair, and I'm sure you're wondering why we're back outside. Well, the simple answer is because the weather is absolutely gorgeous, and I want to work on my tan. But do I? Because joining us is our medical insider, Dr. Tina Shah. Dr. Shah, it is so great seeing you today.
Likewise, Peter.
Exactly. Now, today we are going to talk about sun protection. That's why I opened up the show this way. And you and I were talking off camera, about vitamin D and why vitamin D is important and to be outdoors. But how long should a person be outdoors?
That's a great question. As it turns out, you actually don't need that much time outdoors to help get your vitamin D in. You actually only need 5 to 15 minutes 3 times a week. So listen, my friend, that tan, that's more than you needed.
Oh, she's going after me for my trip to Miami. Absolutely. All right, I'm so sorry. So, I guess, let's make fun of Peter a little, huh? I mean, I was out on the beach for way longer than 5 to 15 minutes when I was down in Miami Beach a few weeks ago. How am I harming my skin?
Well, there's 3 big things that happen. The first is having overexposure to sunlight can actually start causing a discoloration. We've all heard of sunspots. That's exactly what happens when you get way too much sun. On top of that, it actually causes early aging. And by that, I mean wrinkles. So this is another big one. And third, but equally as important, skin cancer. And in fact, 10,000 people are diagnosed with skin cancer, nearly 10,000 every day in the U.S. So this is a big deal.
Every day?
That's right.
Oh, my God, 10,000. So if my math is correct, that's 70,000 people a week.
That's right.
Wow, that is incredible. But Dr. Shaw, they make all these products, they make all these sunscreens, 50, 100, 75 SPFs. Do they not work?
Well, I think the thing is, we're not using it enough. And
Interesting.
what the American Academy of Dermatology recommends is that you wear sunscreen every day, at least SPF 30 or more. And now there are so many different types of sunscreens out there. They work for all different skin tones. So what they say is you choose something that's SPF 30 and that is waterproof. And if you're out in the sun and you're sweating a lot, that you reapply every 2 to 3 hours.
Unbelievable. So basically, if you feel as if you're going to be out, if you know you're going to be outside for more than 15 minutes, I should say, you definitely should get that sunscreen.
That's right. And we're not just talking about those days that you go to the beach. We're talking about every day. I have my sunscreen on. Do you have yours?
No.
Well, we will tomorrow, right?
100% now. You're opening up my eyes here, even though I have sunglasses. And by the way, how important are sunglasses?
They are also very important.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we need to protect our skin with putting sunscreen on, and I'm also happy to share a few more tips.
Please.
We actually need to have sunglasses too, and we need sunglasses that block both UVA and UVB rays, and that's pretty much every pair that you buy in the US. So we're kind of covered on that, but our eyes are pretty sensitive too.
They really, really are. I mean, we were just talking about this, or the media was just talking about this, not so much the Pulse with Peter B, about the solar eclipse and how people should wear those special sunglasses, correct? Because it can affect your eyes, but it doesn't have to be a solar eclipse to hurt your vision, correct?
That's right. All day, every day. When you're out, put on your sunglasses and also make sure you have your sunscreen. But also a few other tips to share.
Sure, please.
Here's the thing. The sun is really, really powerful. So when you can, try and be in the shade because that's actually one tactic. Another tactic to try and protect your skin and avoid having early aging and wrinkles or skin cancer is to make sure you wear clothes that kind of cover your skin up more. So if you can, long sleeve shirt, long sleeve pants. Now, if you can't do that,
Because it's hot sometimes, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
that's right. Then we really think about trying to limit your exposure. So we don't want you to be out for hours. And then finally, I have to beat this again, really use sunscreen.
Okay. And Dr. Shaw, let's talk about UV rays. Because there is, I'm pretty sure you're going to tell me, a misconception out there that sometimes the UV rays are higher at certain parts of the day because it feels hotter at certain parts of the day around noon, 1 o'clock on a sunny day. But now it's probably a little after 6 p.m. on this gorgeous day. And people would say, the UV rays aren't that bad, so I probably don't have to reapply sunscreen. Are people wrong to believe in that?
This is such a common misconception. Even on a cloudy day, the UV rays are coming through. So the bottom line is, if you're going outside, then you actually need to make sure you protect yourself whether or not the sun is out. And to break it down further, there are several different types of UV rays, but I'd like to talk about two of them.
Please.
One is UVA, and that's A for aging. So this is the type of UV rays that lead to the sunspots, that lead to the early wrinkling. And this is actually rays that come through even if there's a glass window. And then there's UVB rays, and these are the dangerous ones, especially because UVB rays cause sunburn. So they get deeper, but we're susceptible to having both of these rays, whether it's sunny or whether it's not. And they come at different times, but we're subject to them no matter what time of day it is.
And you brought up sunburn, and I really want to talk about this. How dangerous is it? I know people are like, it's a little painful for a day or two, and then it turns into a tan. But how dangerous is it to burn your skin?
Very dangerous. I feel like
Why?
you just set me up for that because
Totally.
you said, how dangerous is it to burn your skin? Now, I know that it is our culture to try and look great for summer and tan, but whether you're using a tanning bed or whether you're coming outside, this is extremely dangerous. In fact, this is an increased risk of skin cancer. So
Really?
by the way, no tan is safe for you.
Yeah.
No tan is safe.
And that's going to lead me to my follow-up question, which is darker-skinned individuals, people who are just naturally dark. I mean, can the sun affect their skin as well?
100%. So while, for example, I may have a little more pigment in my skin than your skin, I'm still at risk for skin cancer. And that's why I'm putting on sunscreen every day, making sure I do this before I go outside. Now, here's the troubling piece for when you have darker skin tones. We find that when we diagnose skin cancer, it's usually more advanced. So it limits the ability for us to treat it. So while, yes, there's some protection from having more pigmentation, when we diagnose skin cancer, we want to make sure we catch it early.
Absolutely. I do want to go back to sunspots because I have a few on my face, and I'm sure you noticed them, doctor, and I'm trying to cover myself up, but it's hard when you're on television. There are medications out there that supposedly, and my girlfriend likes to talk about this going to Sephora, I think because she wants to buy some stuff on my dime, but that's a different story for a different time, that removes sunspots. Are those safe?
I really think this is a conversation we should have with our own dermatologist because
Interesting.
there are a lot of different drugs out there that claim things. And this
Right.
is really about, which brand and which drug. So I would say this, I would read the label and I'd actually talk to a doctor to say, hey, here's the exact medication. Is this safe or not for my skin?
And it's not an excuse for you to say, oh, wow, if you did find a good medication, to say, oh, wow, this got rid of my sunspots so I could just tan now for the rest of my life, because those sunspots, if I'm not wrong, you're the expert here, will come back and will be deeper in your skin, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Well, as we age, and then also as we get more and more sun exposure, we have what's called hyperpigmentation. And that is either sunspots where things start to appear, or let's say you had a cut or a bruise and you notice as we age, and I'm not saying anything about your age, I'm just saying in general,
What?
as we age, we tend to notice that, scars form a little bit more, and that's worsened by sun exposure. So the bottom line is we've built up over the years more and more damage insidiously by being out and about in the sun, and as we age we see that because we can't heal as fast and we get some discoloration. So this is really about protecting your skin. No tan is safe, whether you're thinking about a tanning bed or you're thinking outside. All of that shows us that we're just spending too much time and getting overexposed, which puts us at risk of cancer and looking like we're older than we really are.
Exactly. And I want to stay young forever, so I am going to take your advice, Dr. Shah. Thank you so much, Dr. Tina Shah, our Pulse medical insider. And she will be back next week to discuss another topic. You're going to have to stay tuned to our social media platforms to see what that topic is. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for opening my eyes on protecting my skin, because I don't want to get older.
And I don't want you to get older.
I appreciate you so much. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.